morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody, depending on where you are following us. My name is Neftali Piolui. I'm from Haiti, and I will be the moderator for this closing plenary, which is the culmination of more than 18 months of hard work by thousands of young people around the world. I've been witnessing this the passion, the dedication of young people, of these young people, to do this research, and then to be there throughout those 2 days to present the research and then to hear the recommendation from technical experts. Beside being a member of the steering committee, I'm also the coordinator of the Haitian teams. And in the context of Haiti, despite political, social, technical challenges like lack of electricity, lack of internet, those young people were there, and their perseverance allowed them to produce 15 pages, 20 pages of research, and then to be present in those kind of activities to share their thoughts. So I would like to congratulate those youth, and then to show our appreciation for their dedication. So I think what the 2 days of this conference showed us is that what we are looking for is to see the results, or the results of the research of these young people, and then to identify key points, key suggestions that stem from those preliminary findings, and then to reality check them, give them the chance to exchange with academia, policy, and civil society and business experts, to allow them to debate those findings in order to be ready, and for the opportunity to bring those recommendations, those suggestions, those issues to a policy dialogue that we hope to organize as YAR, in December, for a high policy conference in December. So I would like first, before trying to present some key elements of those recommendations, or those issues or suggestions, I would like to first of all thank and congratulate key partners of the YAR project, such as the Bad Leadership Foundation, the International Youth Media Summit, the University of Social Sciences and Humanities of Vietnam, UNOHCHR, UNDP, and the steering committee, and other partners that were dedicated to help us achieve this program on COVID-19. So, for key elements of the conclusion, these are some preliminary findings, preliminary suggestions, and recommendations coming from the more than 11 research to action sessions. Those recommendations will be further studied and further evaluated by the YAR Steering Committee before the conference in December, and then to prepare the conference in December. And one of the elements we have, for example, is first of all to tackle failing student well-being and motivation. Modalities and platforms should be designed by educational institutions, allowing students to interact online, informally, and anonymously with professors about their mental health issues. So, and second of all, they think that young people mostly think that through the key recommendations of the key suggestions and recommendations, they think that such collaboration should be also between grassroots mental health, because they also contribute to the mental health literacy and prevention locally. And then another key recommendation is about youth-led civic action, on the internet, how to facilitate internet access to youth organizations, including by identifying community challenges and tailoring tech solutions through social dialogue, and striking innovative partnership with internet service providers. This is one of the key recommendations, especially coming from Haiti, where we think that collaboration, public-private partnerships with internet providers should be a key element to allow young people to be up to date in the digital world. And then another key recommendations coming from those research actions is government and educational institutions should focus on balancing hybrid educational model rather than delivering formal educational online. Through and those hybrid means that a hybrid educational model means that allowing smaller groups, more accessible, allowing greater flexibility in time management in those online opportunities. And another, a fifth element of these recommendations is to create equal access to online learning, with affordable access to digital devices and internet connectivity for youth from different social backgrounds, including in rural areas. A sixth point is about how the government should introduce online teaching in teacher training, so to have quality online learning systems. A seventh point is how we should create greater investment in sexual and reproductive health and rights, notably throughout digital platforms as a tool for information sharing. An eighth point, which is how to help participants identify the need to foster greater stakeholder interaction and citizen-based information sharing on sexual and reproductive health, including by creating avenues for interaction with rural health providers and by working with digital advocates and influencers. A nine point is how policies and should invest on reinforcing digital literacy and green skills, including by introducing mandatory courses and on supporting young innovators. And then a final point for among those preliminary findings is that research and on youth in the pandemic and post-pandemic context should be more inclusive of young people, especially young people with disabilities. So those 10 points are just preliminary elements. We actually have more than 70 key issues being raised to those research to actions. And just to for the sake of this closing plenary, we thought that we could list those 10 preliminary elements, and then to further study them and to further better prepare the high level police conference in December. And then to allow our partners to share their understanding on on these recommendations, these issues raised. We invited representatives of these key partners to share their understandings of these issues raised by young people throughout this conference, and then to see how throughout the work that they are doing on the ground, how they can support those recommendations and the implementation of these suggestions, and then to address those issues with the collaboration of young people. For that, I would like first to introduce one of our first partner we presented today, which is the International Youth Media Summit. I would like to give the floor to Ms. Evelyn Sirbert, President and co-founder of the International Youth Media Summit. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. And it is such an honor for us to be here. For those of you that don't know about the International Youth Media Summit, we bring together young people from around the globe, and they meet yearly to develop films about 7 pivotal issues. So as our moderator is going through all of these points, the points that have come out of this conference, I kept flashing on films that we have made about these issues. And I think it can be said that media is one of the most powerful weapons that we have to enlighten the world and to motivate people to take action. And I'd like to highlight that point by reading something that was said by former President Barack Obama, former President of the US, Barack Obama, who was inspired to begin his journey to become one of the policymakers and leaders who would have a chance to make the changes that we're suggesting in world affairs. He was watching media coverage of events such as the Velvet Revolution in Poland, the protests in Tiananmen Square in China, and films of the freedom riders in the US. And this media had the power, in his words, to see ordinary people sloughing off fear and habit, to act on their deepest beliefs, to see young people risking everything just to have a say in their own lives, to try to strip the world of the old cruelties, hierarchies, divisions, falsehood, and injustices that cramp the human spirit. That, I realize, was what I believed in and longed to be part of. So this media had the power to lead a Black man in the United States to aspire to become the leader of one of the most powerful countries in the world. This is the power of media. And what we have done in our 17 years with the International Youth Media Summit is bring together young people from across the globe, because we have found that when they work together, they have the power to truly understand what's happening on an international basis. So our support of these key results and findings of the conference will continue to be bringing young people together, having them do research and speak to experts in their own countries, and then bring that research together and speak about that, because then they have a chance to say, well, in my country, this is what's happening. And this is what our experts say is the solution. But what's key to YAR is that you have given the power to youth to come up with youth solutions. And in my 25 years of working with young people, I am continually amazed at their insights, their ability to be able to come to solutions and to frame those in the simplest 2-minute media piece to be able to inspire people in their generation. And this has happened over and over again. And I think one of the most powerful things that has happened with us during this pandemic is our Sanazione, a Time for Healing project. Because immediately when we had the shutdown in the US, we mobilized and we brought together young filmmakers from 30 countries. And over the past 18 months, we have produced over 3 hours of media that is revealing what is happening across the world in terms of the pandemic, people's mental health, people's use of distance learning, people's revelation of how the pandemic has opened up other diseases of climate change and social injustice. And we have media now that can be used. And I am committing right now for us to use these various media pieces to work with UNESCO, who has been a great partner with us for the past few years. And we will use these media pieces to help support your conference in December and your grant project. And we are delighted because this is really something that we find is going to advance our goal. And what UNESCO is doing by helping to bring these findings to policymakers, this is the next big step for us. Because from our founding, we have said we want to use our media to affect people like President Obama when he was in office, or the future President Obama, who was just a young person that is going to make a big difference in the world. And by UNESCO taking these to policymakers and world leaders, it helps us to take that giant step. So in closing, I'd like to say that media has the power to show in sound and pictures the problems we face, but also to portray youth-driven solutions in such a way that stirs the imagination and strengthens the sinews. With UNESCO's help, our media projects can be used to truly make a difference. And we are so honored to be a part of this project. And my best of luck to all the youth that have so inspired me in your project so far, and the best of luck to UNESCO in this marvelous project.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for the International Media Summit. And then I very agree with the fact that how media is important for youth advocacy, and then to gather the support, the grassroots support needed when we're gonna meet with policymakers, so they can be more willing to listen to us, because we have been able to gather the grassroots support needed through media. So thank you for your engagement, and thank you for your support. Without further ado, so I'm gonna introduce Mr. George Konstantinos, from a human rights officer at UNOHCHR, for his intervention. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Natalie, and thank you very much for having us here. I'm here with Guerras Delgado, who unfortunately was not able to join due to a last-minute emergency, but nonetheless sends her regards, and I'm very happy to be here on her behalf. She's the head of the Child and Youth Rights Unit here at the UN Human Rights Office, or OHCHR. We're very, of course, happy to be participating and glad to be partners in the YAR project. We as OHCHR, for those of you who don't know us, are the lead entity on human rights within the UN system. And since 2018, we have basically identified youth as one of our 3 spotlight populations, which basically means we would like to intensify our efforts to focus on youth. And we've recently extended that focus for another 2 years, making our involvement as partners in the YAR project really both very relevant and very timely. I think the YAR program has really provided an important point of reference and inspiration for us at OHCHR, and hopefully it's done the same for colleagues across the UN system and beyond, most significantly by putting young people at the center of the research process and really promoting meaningful youth participation within that context. The focus on youth within the UN really is intensifying across the UN system, not only through the UN Youth Strategy, which was launched in 2018, but also more recently through the Secretary General's Call for Action on Human Rights, and also even more recently last month, the Common Agenda, Our Common Agenda, which was launched by the Secretary General. And both of these documents have a very big focus on youth participation and on future generations. I'd like to share a few thoughts now on what our involvement in the YAR program has underlined from our perspective at the Human Rights Office, and from my perspective also personally having been involved in the YAR on behalf of OHCHR. First of all, young people really are experts of their own condition and their experience. They're better positioned than any other age group to appeal to and to speak to their peers. And I think that the youth researchers that were involved in YAR were not only empowered to develop and implement their own research initiatives, more importantly, they provided an invaluable contribution by enabling us and policymakers and decision makers and governments around the world to better understand how the pandemic has affected youth, but through the eyes of young people themselves. Secondly, it's clear that young people are motivated to make a difference and improve their societies through individual and collective agency. This was demonstrated by young people across the world who showed and volunteered their skills, time, and expertise to respond to the global pandemic. And this is very much true. The same is true of all the young people and the youth researchers who invested their time and energy in the YAR program over the last year. Third, when given the space, young people engage constructively. At the UN Human Rights Office, we were really impressed with the drive, collective team spirit, and professionalism with which the youth researchers carried out their work. We would like to thank the Global Research Team on Human Rights in particular, which we worked with most closely. We're convinced that the group would have thrived even without our support, and that's not to say that our participation and our involvement was irrelevant. We feel that this is also very much a learning opportunity and a learning experience for our organization as well, in terms of engaging with youth and young people. The participation of young people in the research process as researchers, not only as research subjects, is actually very commendable, and it fulfills one of the 6 principles of a human rights-based approach to data that OHCHR has developed. The variety and range of recommendations coming from the YAR program demonstrates that young people are not just the future, as is often said by many people, but actually young people are very much the present. And we must recognize this not only by listening to young people, but by giving them a seat at the decision-making table. Moving forward, this means finding ways to meaningfully integrate young people and their recommendations into pandemic recovery. And I'd like to talk a little bit more about that from our perspective at OHCHR. We at OHCHR are committed to promoting the outcomes and recommendations of the Youth as Researchers project, and we plan to do so in several ways. And just to say thank you, Naftali, for giving us an overview of those. They are also very complementary to a number of things we have done and initiatives we have run on youth and the pandemic, and we're very much looking forward to integrating that. First of all, since 2019, OHCHR has established a youth network, which is aimed at improving our engagement with youth-led and youth-focused organizations. And the aim of that really is to work more intensively on human rights with and for young people. Our youth network consists of several youth officers and youth focal points across a number of our field presences, and we will very much look forward to disseminating the key recommendations coming from the youth researchers through our network and making links between the youth researchers and our colleagues on the ground where that might be possible. Additionally, as we continue to place a spotlight on youth, which I mentioned earlier as well, across all of our work, we will, of course, disseminate YAR recommendations to all colleagues who focus on the different topics addressed by the YAR youth researchers and by the recommendations coming from those to really act as a reference point for youth-led research and recommendations in order to inform their work. Secondly, in partnership with the organizations Education Above All and Solitech, OHCHR is launching a new project on youth and human rights. The initiative will involve the development of a toolkit on youth and human rights to support and empower young people to stand up for human rights in their own context and in their own lives. The toolkit will be developed with input from young people, of course, and will include a series of youth consultations that will unpack a number of the key human rights issues and challenges that young people face, as well as their recommendations to address them. In that regard, we stand to learn a lot from the YAR program, both in terms of methodology as well as in terms of the outcomes and recommendations, and we will disseminate these as appropriate through our project. I would like to finally thank UNESCO once again, all of the YAR partners, and especially a big shout out and a big thank you to all of the youth researchers for all their extremely impressive dedication and cooperation over the last few months. We look forward to continuing our cooperation with UNESCO and to receiving further information about the YAR policy conference that was also mentioned by Naphtali that will take place in December, and to explore possible ways of engaging further with that. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, George Konstantinos. It's very true that we always say youth is the future, but we are actually the present. And in the present, we are putting a lot of energy to contribute in society and as a citizen productively. So, without further ado, I would like to introduce another key partner of the YAR initiative, which is the Mad Leadership Foundation from South Africa. They really provided the opportunity for young people to connect to each other globally. From a feedback from my Haitian team members in Haiti, they really like the platform that Mad Leadership provided because it looks like Facebook. So it's like they find themselves very easily throughout the platform to connect to other young people from around the world, and then to produce this such outstanding work together. So that for that, I would like to introduce Ms. Ailette Peters for her intervention.
Thank you, Naphtali. And it was such an honor for Mad Leadership Foundation. We're a South African nonprofit organization providing scholarships to just over 300 young people in South Africa. And it was such an honor for us to be able to welcome youth from all over the world on our platform to connect and do this important work. I've been reflecting a lot on the things we've learned, the things we're seeing coming out of research, and looking at the key findings that came from the YAR research that have been presented. The thing for me that is so important is the knowledge that we are not alone. No matter which country in the world you're in, no matter which area in a country in the world you're in, there are experiences that resonate with young people all over the world. And this is something that we've experienced earlier on in the year when we started talking about student mental health, that we've really seen going into rapid decline. And that's a massive concern. And once we started talking to other scholarship organizations, hearing the same, we realized we're not alone. And in that knowledge comes the reassurance that if it's not just an us problem, but a we problem, and we all stand together and talk about these things, there's a bigger chance that there would be solutions coming sooner rather than later. The other amazing thing about this research project, I think we're all looking at the immediate effect of COVID-19 and the crises we need to deal with, the challenges we're facing in terms of education. But there's something that we need to acknowledge, and that is some of what we're experiencing now is going to have an effect on young people going into their futures. They've experienced a massive change in terms of how they are able to socialize, etc. Now we've had young people from all over the world doing research, learning about this, and they are going to be the leaders who in 10, 15 years' time, when the future effects of COVID-19 become clear, they are going to be the people who can come up with suggestions because they've been part of the experience learning about, what is the impact of COVID on young people all across the world. So as a nonprofit organization in South Africa, having the honor to participate in this initiative to provide a platform for young people to connect, it is amazing for us to be part of this, but it also speaks to the way in which we view leadership, in that it's not a position, it is an action and a process. And we are seeing young leaders from all over the world taking action and putting a process in place that would lead to positive change and addressing issues concerning youth, coming up with solutions not thought up by adults who sort of, they want to think what young people are experiencing and suggest solutions. And sometimes I don't view myself as a young person anymore. So I think even working with young people in our organization, what we think is a solution might sometimes be a little off the mark. This research is as pure as it can be in terms of youth saying these are the challenges and these are our proposed solutions to it. And we are excited to see not only the immediate outcomes of the research, but also the long-term outcomes and what this initiative can lead to. I am really looking forward to the fact that this will not be something that ends here, but that YAR will be a global movement that just increases to grow and bring insights into experiences of young people all over the world. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Peters. This is a very important point. The fact that young people are producing their own evidences about their own feelings and what they live, and then they can produce recommendations based on those the evidence that they produce by themselves. So, without further ado, I would like to introduce another. I think the central pillar of the YAR project, which is the social and human sciences sector of UNESCO, and his representative today. This sector at UNESCO really supported the YAR project by providing human resources and financial resources to achieve that wonderful program. And I've been given the opportunity to meet with members of this sector at UNESCO every Tuesday, because we have weekly meeting as steering committee, and I'm very honored today to introduce the representative of this sector at UNESCO today, which is Mr. Abdul Lamin, who is a program specialist at the youth section of UNESCO. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. Let me start off by offering apologies on behalf of Ms. Gabriela Ramos, the Assistant Director General for Social and Human Sciences here at UNESCO, who would have loved to be part of this closing session. But unfortunately, she had other assignments, and so she has asked me to step in and offer a few closing remarks on her behalf and on behalf of the team that has pulled this off. I think it is clear that over the last 2 days, we have experienced a marathon of sessions from the east to the west, from south to north. We were connected through technology across different time zones. A few years ago, we could have never imagined that we would have been able to create a dialogue space where participants in all different continents would be able to join from the morning in the Pacific to the evening in the Atlantic. Technology and human effort, by all means, was what made this possible, and we are very grateful, notwithstanding the technical glitches, which were very well handled and professionally, so I might add. Indeed, through these meetings, we saw 25 sessions filled with innovative ideas from young people, as well as some mainstream ideas, which is a proof that the work is indeed not only to bring in the new, but to also address what young people have been calling for a very, very long time. The 10 points that you young people have presented here today are spot on. They are all an important illustration of the value that lies in creating dialogue spaces between youth and actors from policy, academia, and business. They all speak to the important place and role that youth must have in society to drive change, and particularly in terms of the pandemic recovery. In the follow-up to this meeting, the YAR teams will work to update and finalize their preliminary findings, which have been enriched through the many interesting discussions held over the past 2 days here with the technical advisors and the policy experts, the contributions of which were extremely valuable. These actionable policy recommendations will be shared with heads of states, ministers of youth and international organizations, among others, during the YAR policy conference that will take place this winter. The conference will launch a multi-stakeholder global coalition to address the impact of the pandemic on the youth. One of the goals is to secure tangible commitments to a global grant scheme to sustainably support youth-led research and solutions. Given the overwhelming support received, UNESCO intends to establish an annual YAR platform focusing on key issues identified by youth to ensure that young people's voices are meaningfully channeled into policy design, development, and action. The platform also aims to secure a space for dialogue and mainstream a channel for youth to feed their ideas and proposals into policy design at different levels, thus contributing to shape their lives and the life and future of their communities. For our part, for our UNESCO YAR family, this meeting has had very profound significance. It is particularly dedicated to our colleague, Luciana Amorim, who was a coordinator of the YAR team in Brasilia, Brazil, in the UNESCO office, but who passed away from COVID this year. But the meeting is also dedicated to the beautiful newborn babies that arrived during the pandemic for some of the YAR coordinating groups. So it's a mixed bag. On the one hand, we lost our colleague who was very, very instrumental in putting all of this together. But we also had new babies that came in this process. So it's with mixed emotions, but we will move on. We are particularly grateful to the UNESCO chairs, Professor Pat Dolan and Professor Mark Brennan, who are the co-conveners of this meeting, as well as all our partners in the YAR initiative, namely the UNOHCR, UNDP, the International Youth Media Summit, the University of Social Sciences and Humanities of Vietnam, the Mad Leadership Foundation, and of course, the amazing young people who engage in the YAR steering committee. Our sincere gratitude goes to the technical advisors and policy experts who joined the debates and made very valuable contributions throughout the conference. And last but by no means least, we wish to thank the over 8,000, I repeat, young people across the world who committed their time, energy, and capacities over the last 16 months to this project. Without them, the YAR on COVID initiative would not have evolved in the way it has. And we commit that your ideas will not be put to the shelf. We will do our best to mobilize the necessary support to put your ideas into practice. With that, I want to thank you all very much. And on behalf of the social and human sciences sector at UNESCO, I want to now officially declare this meeting closed. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, everybody. And I really appreciate the commitment for the grant scheme, which is one of the main recommendations that coming from the Haitian teams we have made, because we are keen to do some follow-ups on our research and then to actually implement some grassroots solutions based on the ideas that we got from the evidences that we got from our research. So I think that will be an innovative idea, the dream of that grant scheme, that global grant scheme, to be implemented, and it will be instrumental in ensuring that young people can be involved, and then we can create this global youth network, this global network of young researchers, with the support of UNESCO. Thank you, everybody. That's it for now. And then, as it has been mentioned throughout this plenary session, it's not the end yet. It's not gonna be the end. We will see each other this winter for our high level policy conference on YAR, using the key recommendations coming from this knowledge sharing conference. And I hope you young people, the young researchers, will keep being engaged with your coordinators, keep asking them questions. Where if you don't hear back from us after 2 weeks, 4 weeks, or 1 month, keep asking where your coordinators are about information about you. Keep being engaged, and we hope from our part we will make sure that we will be still connected with you, and then to create that a global platform, global network of young researchers, trained and supported by UNESCO. Thank you very much. See you all soon. Bye bye.